We are living in the age of perpetual motion. Our calendars are full. Our inboxes are overflowing. The modern professional wears busy like a badge of honor. We are productive, relentlessly so. Task lists are completed, meetings are attended, and deadlines are met. We move from one microtask to the next with seamless, digital efficiency. But beneath this veneer of high activity lies a profound, unsettling paradox. Why, despite this ceaseless effort, do we often feel a growing distance from genuine, meaningful success? The distinction between productivity and success is the central mystery we must solve. Productivity is a measure of output, how much is done. Success, in its truest form, is a measure of impact, was the right thing done? For many, the relentless pursuit of productivity has become a substitute for strategic thinking. The sheer volume of action drowns out the quiet, necessary space for reflection and critical choice. This is the cost of busy. A society mistakenly optimizing for motion over momentum. A generation trapped in the tyranny of the urgent, sacrificing the vital for the immediate. Our investigation begins by confronting this illusion. We will explore the psychological and systemic forces that compel us to stay busy, even when it's actively detrimental to our long-term goals. The modern workplace is structured to reward visibility and activity, not necessarily deep, sustained value creation. We are incentivized to check things off, even if those checks lead nowhere. We'll speak to executives who hit every goal but saw their companies stagnate. We'll meet artists who created constantly but never found their voice. The feeling of being busy is a powerful narcotic. It provides a temporary sense of control and accomplishment, shielding us from the vulnerability of tackling truly difficult, high-stakes work. It is easier to reply to 10 emails than to spend 2 hours conceptualizing a disruptive new product. It is simpler to attend a committee meeting than to spend time in solitude solving a complex strategic problem. This script will peel back the layers of this societal addiction. We will examine the historical shifts, from the industrial age's focus on visible labor to the information age's anxiety of the constantly accessible. We will look at how technology, designed to save us time, has instead filled every empty pocket of our day, transforming our working lives into a relentless, unbroken chain of minor obligations. The hook is simple: if you are working harder than ever and still not achieving the success you deserve, you are not alone. You are a victim of the cost of busy. The true secret to success is not about doing more. It's about recovering the lost art of deliberate inaction, of choosing purpose over production. Our journey starts now. To understand the cost of busy, we must first identify the key players and the environment they inhabit, the hyper-connected, results-obsessed corporate world. Our stage is any modern office, digital or physical, where speed is conflated with effectiveness. We introduce 2 primary subjects for our investigation. First, Alex, the archetypal productive individual. Alex's calendar is color-coded and packed from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Alex is the first to respond to a Slack message, the one who meticulously tracks all completed tasks, and who seems to effortlessly juggle multiple projects. Alex is indispensable in the tactical sense, an engine of immediate output. Yet, Alex remains stuck in the same operational role, consistently overlooked for the promotion to a strategic leadership position. Alex is doing everything right by the rules of busyness, but not achieving altitude. Our second subject is Sarah, a leader who struggled with, and eventually overcame, the addiction to busyness. Sarah's initial success was built on a foundation of intense activity, working 80-hour weeks and micromanaging every detail. This led to burnout and, critically, a near failure of her most ambitious project. Sarah represents the transition point, the realization that their work was a blur of high-quality execution on low-value items. She exemplifies the pain of the busy trap and the difficult path to strategic success. The backdrop is the prevailing corporate culture. We analyze the psychological contract employees enter into, where demonstrating effort, being busy, is often safer than demonstrating impact, which carries the risk of failure. We look at the rise of collaborative tools, Slack, Teams, email, which create an expectation of instantaneity. This is the digital panopticon, where visibility is constant, and silence is often misinterpreted as idleness. Expert testimony from organizational psychologists will dissect this cultural phenomenon. They explain how the human brain struggles with the ambiguity of success and prefers the tangible, measurable wins of productivity. This environment fosters shallow work, tasks that are administrative, easily replicated, and require little cognitive depth. Alex is a master of shallow work, which keeps the wheels turning but never pushes the enterprise forward. The subjects and the stage are set to reveal the internal and external pressures driving the busy cycle. It is a cycle of external validation and internal avoidance. Sarah's story will serve as our narrative thread for transformation. Alex's current predicament is the reflection of the widespread problem. We established the core difference early: success requires deep work, strategic risk, and periods of deliberate idleness for incubation. Productivity merely requires efficient action. The core mystery is elegantly simple: why do the most productive people not consistently become the most successful? It is a riddle wrapped in the everyday experience of the modern worker. Productivity promises a linear path: effort equals reward. But this equation breaks down in the complex, nonlinear reality of strategic achievement. We see a company, let's call it Synergy Solutions, where the operational teams are hitting all their metrics. Projects are delivered on time, budgets are managed, and employees work late. Synergy Solutions should be thriving. Yet, a year-over-year analysis reveals a disturbing truth: the company is losing market share. Competitors are introducing innovative products that Synergy's teams, preoccupied with execution, never saw coming. The mystery deepens when we examine the concept of strategic debt. This is the cumulative cost of prioritizing urgent tasks over important, long-term decisions. Every time a leader chooses to attend a tactical meeting over spending time in deep thought about market disruption, strategic debt is accrued. Synergy Solutions is drowning in this invisible liability. The problem lies in the activity fallacy. This is the false belief that any activity, so long as it is done efficiently, must be contributing to the goal. It fails to account for zero-sum tasks, work that merely maintains the status quo or fixes self-inflicted problems, generating no net positive value. Busy people are experts at these. The mystery is fundamentally one of misallocation. The energy of the organization is being perfectly allocated to the wrong tasks. We explore the paradox of the skilled worker, where the most competent individuals, like Alex, are constantly rewarded with more low-value work because they are so efficient at completing it. Their skill becomes a cage. The promotion and reward systems in many organizations inadvertently reinforce this behavior. They celebrate the firefighters, not the architects. The problem solvers, not the problem avoiders. The mystery solution must lie in identifying the specific, non-productive behaviors that actually correlate with success. This is not about working less, but about the quality of the work chosen. The key to unlocking success is to escape the gravitational pull of the known, the comfortable, and the immediately measurable task. The central failure is a failure of selectivity and courageous decision-making, masked by a heroic display of effort. Our first major clue emerges from the examination of successful individuals who appear, by conventional metrics, to be less productive than their busy counterparts. The crucial discovery is the 20x rule, a distortion of the Pareto principle, 80-20th rule, in the context of deep work. It suggests that a single, strategically chosen task can yield 20 times the result of 20 tactical tasks combined. We analyze the calendars and routines of breakthrough innovators and leaders. What we find is startling. They have vast, intentional blocks of time dedicated to nothing but thinking, reading, or what can only be described as structured idleness. These periods are not downtime, they are the engine of strategic success. This is the first major clue. Success is cultivated in the quiet spaces that productivity attempts to eliminate. We introduce the concept of deep work hours. These are hours protected fiercely from distraction, dedicated to cognitively demanding tasks that create new value. Busy people almost never have these blocks. Alex's calendar, upon close inspection, is revealed to be a fractal of 15-minute slots, a perpetual motion machine of meetings and immediate responses. There is no space for the deep work hours. The crucial discovery is a shift in the perceived value of different types of work. Society values execution visibly, we must learn to value cognition invisibly. Interviews with neuroscientists highlight the brain's need for the default mode network, DMN, to activate. The DMN is responsible for self-reflection, planning, and creative problem-solving. This network only engages when the brain is not actively processing external stimuli, the opposite of being busy. Busyness is DMN suppression. The clue suggests that the most successful people are not better at doing things, but better at deciding which things not to do. Their success is a function of their superior filtration system. We look at historical examples, scientists, artists, and business leaders, whose greatest breakthroughs followed periods of deliberate withdrawal or contemplative activity, not high-volume output. This is the anti-productivity principle. The highest leverage activity often looks, from the outside, like nothing at all. The crucial discovery is that the fight for success is a fight against the cognitive temptation to fill every moment with action. The busy person is running away from the hard questions, the successful person is running toward them. To understand why we became so busy, we must dive into the historical and technological origins of the busy-as-a-badge culture. It is not an accident. It is a system-wide conditioning. The origin traces back to the Industrial Revolution. In the factory setting, productivity was directly, physically visible, the output of the assembly line, the hours spent at the machine. Effort was equated with time. When work shifted from physical labor to knowledge work, this visible metric of effort, busyness, was the easiest proxy to carry over. The clock-in/clock out mentality became the inbox-in/inbox out mentality. In knowledge work, true value is often invisible and nonlinear. A single, critical idea can be worth months of busy work. But how do you measure the value of a thought before it manifests? The context is the anxiety of the intangible. Because value is hard to quantify, we cling to the tangible metric of activity. We created a performance culture based on the visible metrics of input. This was accelerated by the arrival of digital tools. The email, and later instant messaging, created a new social contract, the expectation of rapid, even immediate, responsiveness. We look at studies that show how rapidly checking email releases a small dopamine hit, creating an addiction loop to minor accomplishments. The technology is engineered for constant engagement, not deep thought. The fear of missing out, FOMO, and the fear of being seen as idle, foci, combine to become a powerful cultural driver. Being busy makes one feel relevant and protected from scrutiny. We examine the economic context, specifically the labor theory of value, in its distorted modern form. We subconsciously believe that the more time we put in, the more value we must be generating. This deep dive reveals a profound misalignment. Our physical and psychological programming still defaults to the factory model of work, while the demands of modern success require a completely different, contemplative model. We are, culturally and technologically, programmed for activity, not for leverage. This is the context that traps Alex and nearly ruins Sarah. The origin of the problem is the human discomfort with the void. Success requires creating space, productivity demands filling it. The investigation now faces conflicting theories on the nature of work. The stakes are escalating. The global economy is increasingly rewarding nonlinear innovation, making the busy approach obsolete and dangerous. Theory A, the volume hypothesis, the busy theory. This theory, held by the majority, states that high volume of activity inevitably leads to success through sheer force of will and statistical probability. More actions mean more chances for a good outcome. Proponents of this view argue that busyness is simply the operational necessity of managing complexity. If you stop, the system collapses. They see deep work as an unaffordable luxury. Theory B, the leverage hypothesis, the success theory. This counter-theory posits that success is determined by the quality of the small number of actions with maximum leverage. It advocates for ruthless elimination and selection. This theory states that the most important work has an extremely high rate of return and that nearly all other work has a near zero or negative return. Busyness is the enemy of leverage. The escalating stakes are clear: the rapid acceleration of AI and automation. As machines become infinitely productive, the human competitive advantage shifts entirely to creativity, emotional intelligence, and strategic, nonlinear thinking. If a human worker is simply optimizing for output volume, busyness, they are engaging in a losing race against the machine. The volume hypothesis is becoming a career-limiting belief. We explore the emotional stakes for individuals. The emotional cost of busyness is burnout, anxiety, and a feeling of being perpetually behind, despite working tirelessly. The organization's stakes are existential. Companies committed to the volume hypothesis are paralyzed by internal complexity, unable to pivot or innovate, and are slowly being outmaneuvered. The conflict is between the visible, reassuring comfort of constant motion and the invisible, terrifying uncertainty of intentional stillness. We present data showing a negative correlation between self-reported hours of work and objective measures of strategic output in leadership roles. The theory of volume is empirically failing. The path to success is now a path of intellectual courage, the courage to say no, to be silent, and to prioritize the difficult, often ambiguous, task of strategic choice over the easy task of execution. For Sarah, the architect of her own busy trap, the point of no return was a moment of profound, organizational crisis. Her flagship project, a massive effort managed with ruthless efficiency, stalled. It stalled not due to poor execution, the team was productive, but due to a fundamental, strategic misread of the market that had been baked into the project's foundation months earlier. Sarah had been too busy managing the daily execution, tracking the minutiae of the schedule, and responding to every team query, to lift her head and question the why of the entire endeavor. The point of no return is when the consequences of non-strategic busyness become so acute that the old system is no longer tenable. For Sarah, this was a public, costly, and painful failure. She realized, in that moment, that all her productivity had only hastened her failure. She had simply become extremely efficient at digging a hole in the wrong place. This failure forces a confrontation with the true cost of busy, the forfeiture of critical oversight. When you are always operating in the system, you lose the ability to observe and change the system. We analyze the organizational equivalent of this point. For Synergy Solutions, it was the moment they lost a major client to a competitor who was slower, but more innovative. The client's feedback was devastating. Your team is great at what they do, but they aren't helping us figure out what we should be doing next. This chapter marks the definitive pivot from analyzing the problem to searching for the solution. The busy life must be intentionally dismantled. The realization is that success is not a destination at the end of a long list of tasks. Success is a continuous process of strategic calibration, enabled by deliberate space. The point of no return demands a difficult, painful admission: I have been wasting my time and energy on things that do not matter. Sarah begins the arduous process of rebuilding her work life, starting not with a new task list, but with a blank calendar and a commitment to radical subtraction. She commits to becoming a leader who is hard to reach, not easy to access. The halfway revelation delivers a shocking counterintuitive truth: the act of being productive often creates more work. Busyness is self-perpetuating. The twist is that the busy person is not solving problems, they are generating them. They are creating noise that others must process and respond to, perpetuating a corporate chain reaction of reactive labor. We introduce the concept of productive pollution. This includes the unnecessary meetings called on a whim, the overly long emails sent late at night, and the constant stream of low-value communication. Alex's high volume of output generates a significant amount of productive pollution. His quick-fire email responses require recipients to spend their valuable time synthesizing and filtering. When Alex is hyperproductive, the entire system around him becomes reactively busy. His efficiency is a tax on the organization's collective focus. This revelation completely reframes the busy person. They are not heroes, they are a critical source of inefficiency. Their productivity is a net negative when measured by the metric of strategic focus. We explore Sarah's implementation of her new philosophy. Her first act was to eliminate half of her recurring meetings and institute a no-reply hour for her team. The initial reaction was panic. The team felt lost and anxious without the constant communication. This confirms the addiction to busyness. The discomfort with silence is a withdrawal symptom. The midpoint twist proves that the true solution is not a time management hack, but a cultural and psychological intervention. The new focus is on minimum viable communication, MVC, only communicating the essential, high-leverage information, and accepting the risk of not being immediately responsive. The reward for this disciplined approach is the recovery of cognitive margin. The revelation forces us to accept that the ultimate goal is not to execute tasks efficiently, but to strategically starve the flow of unnecessary tasks. The most successful people are not the ones who do the most, they are the ones who stop the most unnecessary work from ever reaching their desk or their mind. This is the profound shift in perspective. New evidence from behavioral economics illuminates the deep psychological impact of the busy mindset. It is revealed to be a powerful form of cognitive self-defense. The psychological impact of being constantly busy is a successful evasion of two things: the fear of failure on a high-stakes task, and the fear of meaninglessness. We look at the ego shield phenomenon. Completing many small, easy tasks provides constant, small validation hits that protect the ego from the risk of tackling a single, ambitious task that might fail publicly. Busyness provides a ready-made excuse for lack of success. I didn't fail because I was incompetent, I failed because I was too busy. It is a form of learned helplessness that feels like control. New evidence shows a link between busyness and a lower sense of self-worth that is not tied to one's actions. Constantly checking tasks off replaces the need for a deeper, intrinsic sense of value. We interview psychologists who treat executives for burnout. They describe the busy trance, an almost meditative state of constant, low-level action where the executive avoids confronting existential questions about the purpose of their work. The addiction to responsiveness is another piece of evidence. The ping of a notification offers an immediate sense of being needed and relevant, compensating for the feeling of detachment from the strategic mission. For Alex, the constant activity serves as a distraction from the underlying anxiety of his stalled career. His productivity is a coping mechanism. The evidence points to the need for a strategic vulnerability practice, intentionally creating space to ask the scariest questions: is my work moving me toward my most important goals? If I failed today, what would I regret not having done? The psychological shift requires replacing the validation of effort with the validation of impact, a far more difficult and less frequent reward. The cost of busy is ultimately the cost of avoiding self-confrontation. Success demands psychological bravery, busyness offers an escape route. The truth, that busyness is a performance and a form of systemic inefficiency, is often actively suppressed by organizational structures and leaders who benefit from it. Attempts to suppress the truth come from the busyness industrial complex. These are the vendors, consultants, and management theories that sell tools and methodologies designed to optimize more activity, not better activity. We examine the rise of hyper-efficient time-tracking apps and micromanagement software. These tools reinforce the factory floor model of work, measuring effort over outcome, and inadvertently penalizing reflective time. The suppression is often driven by a fearful leadership. Leaders who are themselves trapped in the busy cycle lack the courage to allow their teams to slow down, fearing a loss of control. If a leader allows their team strategic downtime, the leader must assume greater accountability for the ultimate outcome. Busyness allows for distributed, shared, and therefore diluted accountability. The truth is also suppressed through cultural shaming. The person who leaves the office at 5 p.m., or who has 2 hours blocked out on their calendar for thinking, is often secretly judged as not being a team player. This cultural pressure is a powerful suppressor. It forces people to adopt productive theater, visibly working long hours, sending late-night emails, and taking on unnecessary tasks purely for the optics of commitment. Sarah faced this suppression when she implemented her changes. Colleagues whispered, and some executives questioned her commitment, mistaking her focus for idleness. The suppression is an attempt to preserve the status quo because the alternative, a truly focused, high-leverage organization, requires radical transparency, clear priorities, and the uncomfortable admission that 80% of current activity is waste. The system fights back against the truth because the truth dismantles the foundational beliefs of the last half-century of management theory. This chapter uncovers the systemic resistance to change, proving that escaping the busy trap is not a personal optimization exercise, it is a battle against the entrenched organizational inertia. Our narrative turns to the active pursuit of strategic success, focusing on the difficult confrontation required to break the busy habit. Sarah becomes our guide through this demanding process. The pursuit begins with the audit of yes. Sarah meticulously tracked every commitment, every meeting, project, and task, and asked a single, confrontational question: if I did not do this, what would be the worst-case, realistic scenario? The confrontation is with the fear of disappointing others. Many busy people are people pleasers, using activity to gain external validation. Success requires accepting the necessary discomfort of saying no. Sarah's confrontation with her team was a turning point. She had to explain that her new strategy would feel like a decrease in support, but was, in fact, the highest form of support, protection from non-essential work. The pursuit of leverage requires identifying the single most valuable thing that only you can do. For a leader, this is often setting the vision and allocating resources, not managing the details. We analyze the confrontation between Alex, busyness, and the possibility of success. Alex is given a mandate to implement a version of Sarah's deep work hours concept. Alex struggles immensely. The empty blocks of time feel terrifying. He fills them with preparation or research that is ultimately just another form of self-directed busy work, avoiding the core strategic task. The confrontation is internal, the compulsion to check the phone, to click the notification, to feel the comfort of the routine task. It is a psychological detox from digital stimulation. The pursuit of success demands strategic abandonment, the courage to quit projects that are 80% complete but no longer serve the highest goal. The busy person must finish everything, the successful person only finishes what matters. The confrontation with the past is also vital. Sarah had to confront the reality that she had wasted years being productive on the wrong things. The successful journey is a constant confrontation with the seductive nature of low-risk, low-reward activity. The pursuit is messy, uncomfortable, and often involves intentionally letting things drop. The final pieces of the success puzzle coalesce around the concept of margin, the intentional space created in time, budget, and cognitive capacity. The realization is that true success is not built on efficiency, but on resilience and the capacity for nonlinear growth. Both require margin. We see the transformation in Sarah's team. Initially anxious, they are now forced to become self-reliant and strategic in their communication. They start to solve problems before escalating them. With fewer, but higher quality meetings, the conversations become concentrated on high-leverage decisions, not status updates. The team's productivity, output, decreases, but their success, impact, dramatically rises. The final piece is understanding the success filter. Every incoming request is filtered through two questions. 1. Is this a high-leverage activity? 2. Is this something only I can do? If the answer to either is no, the task is deleted or delegated. Alex, after weeks of struggling, finally has a breakthrough. He forces himself to sit in silence and wrestle with a complex product strategy problem he had been avoiding by doing busy work. In that silence, a single, critical insight emerges that fundamentally reshapes his project's direction. That one insight, cultivated in the deliberate void, is worth more than all his previous months of email and meeting attendance. The pieces fall into place. Productivity is the raw material, margin is the crucible, selectivity is the tool, and leverage is the result. The strategic person uses productivity only to execute the results of their deep, focused thinking. The busy person uses productivity as a substitute for that thinking. The evidence is clear. Sarah's project, initially stalled, is successfully rebooted with a simplified, radically focused strategy. The team is calmer, more engaged, and producing breakthrough results. The final realization is that the greatest luxury in the modern world is not money or time, it is uninterrupted attention. Success is simply the proper investment of this most precious resource. The truth is revealed. Productivity is a tool of execution, but success is a function of strategic choice. The busy person mistakes the tool for the objective. The primary conclusion of our investigation is that the cost of busy is the systemic erosion of our capacity for strategic thinking and deep creative work. The busy trap is not a time management problem. It is a priority management failure masquerading as a time-constraint crisis. We are not failing because we lack time, we are failing because we lack courage and clarity. We summarize the key distinction. Busy, driven by urgency. Focuses on input. Measures success by activity volume. Produces operational efficiency. Leads to strategic debt. Successful, driven by importance. Focuses on outcome. Measures success by impact leverage. Produces nonlinear growth. Leads to cognitive margin. The truth requires a fundamental re-evaluation of what constitutes good work. Good work is not visible, rapid, or easily quantifiable in the short term. It is often slow, difficult, and initially ambiguous. The most successful leaders we analyzed spend a disproportionate amount of time in seemingly unproductive activities, reading, talking to people outside their immediate field, walking, and thinking in silence. The true secret is learning to become a strategic gatekeeper, fiercely protecting one's resources from the deluge of low-value demands that the modern world constantly produces. We return to Alex, who has now internalized the lesson. He is doing less, but what he does has a profound, measurable effect. He is no longer the fastest responder, but he is the most reliable source of critical insight. The conclusion is that the busy life is the comfortable path, the path of least resistance. The successful life is the courageous path, the path of radical selectivity. The ultimate measure of success is not how many tasks you complete, but how many unnecessary tasks you successfully prevent from existing in the first place. The aftermath of this shift, both for individuals and organizations, is the formation of a new, sustainable legacy built on leverage, not labor. Sarah's legacy is the culture of strategic deliberation she instills. Her team is smaller, quieter, and produces higher quality, more impactful work. They no longer mistake motion for progress. The new company philosophy is one of intentional undercapacity. They deliberately keep their calendars and budgets with open margin, recognizing that this is the necessary fuel for innovation and unexpected opportunities. We examine the modern ties of this philosophy, looking at companies and thought leaders who have embraced the principles of subtraction and deep focus. This movement is a quiet rebellion against the attention economy. The legacy of the busy era is the warning it leaves behind, a generation of burned-out workers who achieved peak efficiency but missed peak meaning. The modern ties are especially relevant to the younger generation entering the workforce. They are inheriting a system that promises digital ease but delivers cognitive overload. The new mandate is to teach the difference between the two terms early. We must educate future leaders on the power of the pause, the necessity of stopping the machine to recalibrate the coordinates. The aftermath for Alex is a promotion. He is recognized not for his effort, but for the clarity of his strategic contributions. His greatest skill is no longer execution, it is selection. This new model leaves a different legacy. Success is a choice of focus, not a consequence of maximum effort. We highlight the shift from a hero culture, the busy, sacrificing individual who single-handedly executes everything, to a sage culture, the leader who creates clarity and empowers others through subtraction. The ongoing challenge is the persistence of the old cultural pressures. The battle is never completely won, it is a daily commitment to defend the strategic margin. Our journey to uncover the cost of busy concludes with a final summary of the truths revealed and a lingering mystery that remains unsolved. Concluding summary. The primary cost of being productive but not successful is the sacrifice of cognitive margin, the necessary space for deep, strategic, nonlinear thought. The difference: productivity is doing things right, success is doing the right things. The former is execution, the latter is a choice of leverage. The origin: the trap is rooted in the transfer of the industrial age's visible labor metrics to the invisible world of knowledge work, accelerated by the attention economy's technology. The solution: the path to success requires radical subtraction, intentionally eliminating low-leverage tasks, and strategic deliberation, fiercely protecting time for deep work, reading, and reflection. The new metric: the most valuable asset is no longer speed or volume, but uninterrupted attention and the courage to say no to the urgent in favor of the important. The script ends with a lingering, powerful mystery that every viewer or reader must confront personally. Lingering mystery. If the path to success is clearly defined by focus, subtraction, and margin, why do so many people, armed with this knowledge, still choose to remain busy? Is the addiction to busyness a deeper psychological need, a compulsion for validation so powerful that it overrides the conscious pursuit of success? Is the fear of a world without tasks, a void of non-action, greater than the fear of a life without impact? The final frames show Alex, now successful, sitting at a desk with an empty calendar. He is staring out the window, deep in thought. The screen lingers on the quiet stillness of his office. The closing narration asks the ultimate question: are you busy because you have to be, or are you busy because you are afraid to stop? The choice between the comfort of busyness and the discomfort of success is a personal act of courage. The cost has been counted. The decision is now yours.